Greetings from Blessington, here in the heart of wonderful West Wicklow. My role is to tell you a little bit about our town and then to hand you over to others who will give you a summary of our work in recent times and the exciting plans we have for our town's future. Blessington is situated on the N81. Close to the capital city, Dublin, Blessington could very easily have become another commuter town. Instead, Blessington, through strong community and business leadership, have focused on developing the town as a vibrant, inclusive hub for residents, businesses and recreation. As with other towns, Blessington has the usual mix of businesses, which were of course immediately impacted by the lockdown. Thankfully, we were well prepared for it, and with the aid of some video footage, my colleagues will outline how we effectively dealt with the crisis in more detail.
Good morning, judges. Blessington was selected as Leinster's most enterprising town in the Bank of Ireland award scheme in 2017. That was a well-received acknowledgement of the work of many individuals and businesses and groups in the town. Now, we used that award as the catalyst for the establishment of Blessington Town Team in 2018. We coordinate the activities of the group through 6 working groups: Tidy Towns and Public Realm, Planning and Infrastructure, the Business Network, Tourism and the Greenway, Culture and Heritage, and finally, Healthy Blessington. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we decided we needed another group and that we needed to set that up urgently. So with a wide range of individuals and organisations already involved in the town team, we were able to move very quickly. So with just one face-to-face meeting on the 13th of March, we set up Blessington COVID-19 Community Response Group.
This is a St. Patrick's Day like no other. A day that none of us will ever forget.
Right now, staying at home is the best way we can protect ourselves and each other.
A little more detail on the total number of deaths so far, the 235.
It was a worry for me because I'm over 70 now, and therefore I had great respect for the virus long before the world had.
Shielding or cocooning will be introduced for all of those over 70 years of age.
Initially, we didn't realise just how essential it would be, but once the lockdown happened, then it became really essential. People who just couldn't get out of their homes, people who were too nervous to go outside their homes, they needed help.
We decided to put out a message on our own Facebook page that although we've been stood down for health and safety reasons from the ambulance service, that we were still available to help out where we could. And then we sort of said, look, there's a lot of groups out there looking to help people. Why don't we pool our resources rather than you doing it and them doing it and us all doing different things? We get together and we might be able to cover a wider area more efficiently, which sounded like a brilliant idea. So John Horn was the coordinator for the group, got us all together.
My concern initially was, would we get enough volunteers?
My initial instinct was, how can I help? What can we do to help? But I have 2 small children. I was still on maternity leave actually, and it just wasn't possible with childcare because we couldn't get any childcare to commit to anything full time. So when the call came looking for volunteers, it was a no-brainer for me just to sign up and see what I could do locally.
And we got a great response from people who came forward, and we matched them up with a volunteer in their area.
And the next thing, I got a text from John to say you're designated a volunteer is Sarah at that, and that was a tremendous relief to me. I didn't have to worry about ringing this person and ringing that person, and so Sarah was, she was a blessing. We developed a system whereby, the days that suited her to shop, I'd text her a shopping list, and then she'd arrive and leave the shopping outside the door, and I'd have the money ready, and that's the story. So it worked out fine.
Initially I thought it would probably be about 3 or 4 weeks that I'd be helping out, and obviously that became much longer. So it was more of a commitment than I had expected, but at the same time it didn't really matter because normal life was on pause anyway for everybody.
As a dad, what do? You have 3 girls, you've set up a business in the event space, and you're being shut down. So yeah, so fear. But We had 2 weeks of produce in the fridge and freezers that just, there was no point in keeping that on for that amount of food. So we basically said, look, what can we do with it? And that's where the initiative started. So we basically just put out a post to say what we were doing, and the people had to nominate people that they felt was in need of this.
That definitely made a difference, but it actually surprised me, just the generosity of businesses. Pulafuka House and Paul has been one good example. They had the staff, they had the facilities, and they put that to good use by offering free meals. And they could do that for a period of time, but clearly you can't keep doing that forever, without the support of other businesses who then came in and sponsored each weekly run of meals and so on.
It was amazing. We probably had 12 weeks of sponsorship within the first 2 weeks of requesting it. So everyone pulled in behind us. And it was amazing what a meal and just some contact with somebody actually meant. I brought my 10-year-old, our eldest Ava, with me to deliver the meals. And it was great just sort of teaching and showing, and even for myself to actually see how basic contact and a warm meal meant so much to these people. So it was a very strange experience, but a very good experience to actually help in such a small way.
Following on from our town team meeting in the beginning of March, we had our first COVID response group meeting on the 13th of March. The key actions of the group can be divided into two categories. Firstly, communication. On the communication front, we've had to ensure that the general population were aware that this group existed. Our next action was to begin to deliver supports to the local community. We did this through our Hello Neighbour campaign. They went out and identified what vulnerable or elderly people lived in their area and ensured that any vulnerable or elderly people who didn't have supports would be provided supports through the COVID response group. This proved to be very successful, and we, along with our volunteers, delivered medicines, food to multiple people, as well as providing support at the end of the phone where it was needed.
Week 4 here, all at home. How are you getting on and your team in Blessington?
Well, the fact is week 4, it is just literally over 3 weeks ago that we set up the Blessington COVID Community Response Group. It seems like ages ago, but it's literally only...
I think the community have really come together. You know, people have looked at the problems that we faced, worked together to address them. You know, people are more likely to get involved, give some helping hands. You know, even the free meals for the elderly vulnerable was a great thing to do. But I think in general people have stepped up much more than they would have in the past.
They did flyers, and what we did, I came from Crosschapel to Rathmore and I delivered them to all the houses. So it was up to anybody then that felt that they needed, you know, help to give us a call. So that's how Father Lyons was able to get our number.
They came to my door, yes. And stood their distance, as it were, and asked me. And then I would have written out the shopping list for the week.
Well, we always had a chat. I'd come up and he had a shopping list, and he was great because he had his little packet of what biscuits he liked, or, you know, what food he liked. So I'd go and I'd get that, and then I'd just drop the bags at the door and I'd ring the doorbell, step back, and he'd come out and hand it back to him.
It was welcome, sure it was, yes, yeah. The fact that I got some bonuses from time to time, you know, so then they would give you a little help. Maybe a cake or something, you know, just to sweeten the taste.
There was 30 people involved altogether, which was phenomenal. It was great, you know, to maybe picking up a paper for somebody that couldn't get out or was afraid to go out, or it was good, and we all got in contact through. There was a WhatsApp group, so if somebody couldn't make it to somebody, it went out, and it was brilliant now, I have to say, and it's still going.
And look, people who are vulnerable didn't have to be elderly, they didn't have to be sick. You know, there were young people who were vulnerable too. There were people who were at home with young children who couldn't get to the shops or didn't want to bring the young children to the shop. So it wasn't necessarily sick people, it wasn't always old people. But, you know, in the current situation, for whatever reason, there were a lot of people who just couldn't, or were scared to, or afraid to, and just to be able to help out and do that for somebody it's why we got involved, to be able to do our bit, you know.
Anybody that helps other people has to be commended, from just knocking on their door to saying hello, or picking up prescriptions, or delivering meals. So ultimately, any bit of help that people offer to the most vulnerable other sectors of society is a great benefit to us.
The last 6 months have been incredibly tough for everybody, but the extraordinary work done by the Blessington Town Team volunteers to reach out and support the most vulnerable members of the Blessington community really has been nothing short of inspirational. It just shows that incredible things can be done when an entire community comes together. Really well done to the entire team.
Good morning, judges. As chairperson of Blessington District Forum, I'm very pleased to be able to acknowledge the community work and community spirit that takes place here in Blessington. We have a wide range of community groups, and the Forum has led the way in volunteerism for the last 20 years. The Forum itself has many strands, from social inclusion to community development, tourism and environmental matters. Of our many projects, we are particularly proud of our community-led Greenway, which joins Blessington to the iconic Rusborough House along a 6.5 kilometre stretch. This Greenway is used for walkers and cyclists. It has brought enormous economic benefit to Blessington. The Forum has particular interest in our age-friendly and disability awareness initiatives, and through the establishment of the local access group, we are now working with the Disability Federation of Ireland. These are just two examples of when communities, local authorities and other bodies come together in a collaborative approach, anything is achievable.
Blessington has a strongly developed volunteer culture, from the ongoing year-round work of the Tidy Towns, to the organising and running of Darkness into Light, or running charity events to raise money for local causes. The community culture of working together is ingrained. The Blessington Greenway is an example that takes that experience to another level. A 6-kilometre built walkway from Blessington to Rusborough House. This popular path is soon to be expanded to 42 kilometres, circumnavigating the lakeshore. Quietly over the past years, this project that was conceived locally, supported in its creation by the local community, and then taken up in cooperation with Wicklow County Council, has already begun the process of planning the final construction. This soon-to-be-built E-Greenway is just another example of how a spirit of local cooperation that showed in its volunteer response to COVID-19 is allowing this community to look outwards to a time after COVID, when opportunities for sustainable tourism will bring new business and a more hopeful future for the region.
Blessington Town Team has also recently established a reopening group tasked with the job of assisting businesses to get back on their feet and cope with the new normal. This has led to the district-wide Wonderful West Wicklow reopening campaign, which is encouraging everyone to support local shops and service providers. Initially, a wide range of information on local and national supports for businesses and services were distributed to every business throughout the entire municipal district. This has been supported by a West Wicklow-wide Support Local campaign, encouraging members of the community to return the compliment to all the local businesses and service providers who continue to provide services to them during the recent difficult lockdown period.
So on the 18th of May, Ireland begins to reopen and begins that journey to a new normal.
After lockdown, the business world had changed, and there really was a new normal. Months of no income have tested many businesses in Blessington, just like everywhere else.
The sad thing is not every business will survive. We know of one or two that we've lost already, but it's surprising how resilient businesses are. they've managed to cut their cloth to suit their measure, and they're getting on with it. There's government supports there which are greatly appreciated, and through the town team we managed to get out there and tell them what supports were available and try and point them in the right direction. So thank God most of them have come through, and hopefully will continue to thrive as we come through this pandemic.
But survival in the COVID world has made some businesses wake up to new opportunities.
Well, you can imagine as a small business in a small town, when the lockdown happened at the beginning of March, we were really worried about it. We had to really take the blinkers off and look for ways to create revenue to be able to keep the gym open. We started doing online classes, ranging from Pilates, yoga, spinning, all the kind of classes we did down here. So it worked out really well. The online presence is something that we hadn't looked at before, and moving forward, it's something we will definitely look at again.
We were very worried as time went by. The fact that it was so long, I thought the business wouldn't actually survive. It's great to be back. We couldn't wait to get back. We were so excited, and so was the clients. The clients were so happy because it's been so long for a lot of them since they had a haircut or a hair colour.
Here in the Avon, we've managed to find a way to, to continue to entertain people outdoors, and to pivot our business in various ways. So that's been, I suppose a big steep learning curve, but it's worked reasonably well for us. So we've been happy with our adjustments and how they've gone. So we're not as worried as we were. Blessington is fast becoming a resource to the people of Dublin, who need to get out of the city, and I think this year, without them being able to travel, that was seen more and more. I think the Greenway here has come on hugely this year in terms of its popularity and also its profile. I think a lot more people know about it now. In the long run, it's been good to us. Short term, obviously, a bit of pain and suffering, but in the long run, I think it's going to really stand to a place like Blessington.
You adapt and you move forward and you keep looking at ways and means to try and obviously make it work. For us, we're hoping for a bumper 2021 like everybody else, but you just got to keep going as best you can and keep things as tight as possible. Local business needs to support local business, and people need to support local business, and so far we're seeing that from our customers coming in.
So business survival in the new normal seems to be looking at the world in new ways and moving on. All the time keeping the vibrant Blessington business groups and the community activists working together in a reconstruction of a new world after COVID. Finally, I would like to say to you, the judging panel, that we truly appreciate you taking the time to consider our application. And with my colleagues, we are pleased to answer any questions about our presentation that you may have. Thank you.